The one where Rosita dies is such a great episode of Friends. This is the 13th episode of the 7th season. It's directed by Stephen Prime, and as always, there will be spoilers from now as I go through the various parts of the narrative and share some thoughts. And I'll talk about Phoebe first of all, and then Rachel and Joey and Chandler, and then Monica. I don't know if that's necessarily my order of preference. I think I like every part of this pretty equally, but Phoebe's is particularly moving. Phoebe isn't doing as well as she'd like to be with her massage clients, so she decides to get a job selling toner. And I'll be honest, it took me many years of watching this episode to learn what toner was. I think it was only in the last few years that I finally learned what it was. And she phones somebody to speak to them about buying toner, and she gets somebody called Earl, played by Jason Alexander. And Earl doesn't need toner because he's going to kill himself. And I have to say, Phoebe thought it was fate that she was the person to call him and not somebody else from the company selling toner. And I agree. I agree that Phoebe was there to help save him that day. And she talks with him on the phone. And there was one bit that made me laugh. It obviously sounds quite heavy, but we do have some comedy here, of course. And it's the bit where he says, I don't need toner because I'm going to kill myself. And Phoebe is frantically looking through the manual to try and find a response, because obviously with this kind of sales job, you have to follow a script. And it just goes to show that scripts are generally not the best way to do things, because you don't have that human touch. And that's something that Phoebe really needed to benefit from with this, to help Earl. And she decides to go and speak to Earl directly. She visits him in his office, and it's such a lovely scene. And yeah, she tells some lies about her mother and how she was very much like Earl, but not all lies, and it was just a very moving scene, and I really, really thoroughly enjoyed it. Then we come to Rachel and Joey. Rachel suggests moving the couch so she has somewhere to sit so she can see the television. Joey says no, so she decides to move Rosita herself. Rosita, of course, being Joey's chair. And, well, it breaks in half. The back just completely falls off of Rosita, and Rachel promises to go and buy Joey a new chair, which is fair enough. And they leave, they go to the chair store, and Chandler comes in, and he sits down. Nobody else is there, of course, and he sits down on the chair, and of course, when he leans back, it just falls off. And I assume Rachel and Joey had tried to put the back on to see if they could slot it back into place, and apparently they could do that enough that it would stay there, but as soon as you lean on it, it falls backwards, and that's what happened. And of course, Chandler thinks he's broken the chair, so he swaps the chairs. He swaps his chair with Joey's chair, and Joey and Rachel, of course, come back home, and they go to move Rosita out of the way so they can have room for Joey's new chair, and Rosita is healed. It's a miracle. Not once did they think this must be the other chair. And the new chair arrives. It's the Lazy Boy Ecliner 3000. And it does look a little bit more high-tech, a little bit fancier. And while Joey was reluctant initially, he's now wanting this chair because he sees how comfortable it is for Rachel. And I absolutely love what happens next. Rachel goes to speak with Chandler, and she finds out what happened. Chandler thought he broke the chairs, so he swapped the chairs. And the next thing we see is Joey has intentionally broken the chair that he thinks is Rosita. So now both of the chairs are broken, and we have this new black chair. So not a great day for chairs, but really an enjoyable part of the episode. And then we come to Monica's, and we find out that Jack and Judy are selling their house. So Monica and Ross go there to look at some of their boxes of belongings and to sort through their childhood memories. And I have to say, I understand why Monica would be upset with what happens next, but clearly she didn't care enough to take her belongings with her when she moved out, or to get them at any point over how many years she's been living on her own. So when she found out that Jack had used her boxes, not intentionally her boxes, but he'd used some boxes to stop the water from touching his Porsche when there was a small flood, he did use her boxes, and Monica's devastated. So yes, on the one hand, completely understand the devastation, but at the same time, she's been moved out for a very long time with no plans of moving back. So why wouldn't she collect her items at some point so that she could store them safely and have them nearby? So I understand, and if it were me, I'd be devastated because I am very big on nostalgia. But at the same time, I've always had my nostalgia with me, so I don't think she can fully blame Jack. No, that's not fair. She can fully blame Jack. But at the same time, how much did her stuff really mean to her? I don't know. But she doesn't have any stuff left anyway. And she has one fuzzy object left. And I have to say, this bit always gets me. It makes me feel sick and I laugh. It's when she's rubbing this fuzzy thing, a soft toy, we can presume, against her face. And she says to Ross, "What do you think this was?" And Ross says, "I think it was a mouse." And just Courtney Cox's performance as she screams and throws this mouse. It's disgusting and it's amazing and I absolutely love it. But Monica's happy because Jack realises what he did wasn't great. So to make it up to her, he gives her the Porsche. And needless to say, Ross is annoyed by this because why should Monica get a Porsche? But Monica's very happy. And then she goes home and she sees Joey and Rachel and she finds out that the chair, Chandler's chair, has also gone because obviously Joey broke that. So she got a Porsche and the chair's gone. It's a great day for Monica and it's a very happy way to end things. Really thoroughly enjoyed this episode. There's nothing about it that doesn't work. I don't know if I have any personal highlights. I think just the whole way Rosita and the other chair were handled, I enjoyed. Obviously, Monica and the mouse, absolutely love that. And the way Phoebe handled that situation as well is very moving, very inspirational, and I rather liked it a lot. So, needless to say, I think the one where Rosita dies is a pretty brilliant episode of Friends, and I'm sure it's one that I will always really thoroughly enjoy.